And the best part is when a new idea strikes, you can simply blow up your current creation and begin the next one, chasing your inspiration for the next idea. Who hasn't just done that? In 3rd or 4th grade, I took an art class at Athens Elementary School where we had a unit on clay. The process was exciting. I had to create something, fire it in the kiln, glaze it, fire it again before it was graded. And I decided to make a flower pot for my mom, picturing this beautiful, beautiful design with this ruffled, blossomed edge and the water collecting base in my mind's eye. It was a masterpiece. My mom was gonna love it. Art's not my strong suit. When the pot came out of the first firing, the beautiful ruffled edge was cracked. And because the clay was too thin and the whole thing kind of just leaned towards. And I glazed it a burgundy color anyway because that was one of her favorite colors, and my art teacher saw it. It was always very gentle with their words and always had a slight pause when he looked at my work. And in hindsight, I'm pretty sure he graded me on effort more than the final project. And even though my grade was acceptable, I think I was looking for more praise or encouragement, holding on to my mind's eye of this creative beauty. I wanted a higher return on my effort, and I wasn't getting it. And clearly that stuck with me. Putting yourself out there, creating something, speaking one's mind, always comes with a cost. It opens you up to both the possibility of praise and the risk of rejection. Jesus understood the cost of his actions, the potential for praise, and the very real risk of rejection. His ministry was a call to action, and that too came with a cost. In this morning's gospel reading, there is no time to ponder a plan. There was minimal time to mold or to sculpt or even roll out. Jesus immediately grabs everyone's attention with a bit of hyperbole, stating, "Whoever comes to me does not hate father or mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, and even life itself, cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not carry the cross and follow me cannot be my disciple." Ooh. The word hate in this context does not mean anger or hostility. It means that when there is conflict, a disciple's commitment to Jesus must take precedent over even the most sacred of human relationships. The disciples were an itinerant group of followers. Discipleship required not only commitment to Jesus, but also a willingness to leave home and family, to travel from village to village with minimal provisions to spread the gospel. Jesus amplified his point with the examples of building a tower and an army. A tower served two purposes: to draw its builders closer to God and to protect their property from invaders. The same could be said for building an army. It was serious business. Both projects would have a significant impact on the community, for better or worse. No sensible person would begin either endeavor without serious, sustained thought. To do anything less would be foolish and reckless. You're seeing some similarities here. At the same time, a smart builder or a wise king would recognize the crucial importance of these undertakings and be willing to make major sacrifices, such as negotiating for peace to ensure a successful outcome. To be a follower of Jesus, one must look at the cost. And the ramifications of such far exceeded building a tower or an army, using the kind of hyperbole common to public discourse in Jesus' time. The writer has Jesus contrast the relationship with parents and family with relationship to him. Discipleship was so serious and earth-shattering that the extent of a disciple's love and commitment to Jesus would, in contrast, almost make it look like their relationship with family was one of neglect and even hate. The cost is real, and the rate of return is sometimes minimal. And sometimes we lack clarity on what the cost even is or even what it means to be followers of Jesus. Reverend Cameron Trimble, in her almost daily devotional, I love that, almost daily devotional, wrote, "A Nation Becoming Real." In this devotional, they ask the question, can we meet this moment of cultural collapse with kindness, creativity, and fierce love without pretending we're above the mess of it all? Can we stay grounded in the humility that we are not saviors, even as we long to heal what's breaking? This question struck me as I think about our call to be disciples in this moment in time, to reclaim our Christian voice and to differentiate that from nationalism. Trimble writes then in her devotion, and I thought it was meaningful that I'd like to share most of it with you, and she writes, "We all sense that we are living in a moment of profound unraveling. All around us, the shadow of our collective story is revealing itself. Under the name of American exceptionalism, we are witnessing harm and dehumanization dressed up as virtue. Brown-skinned people vilified, LGBTQ communities attacked, women subjugated, Black lives threatened, institutions dismantled, war promoted under the banner of peace. As I so often say, this isn't just political, it's ontological. It shakes the very ground on what we thought reality was. Perhaps that is the source of our deepest suffering. Not just the horrors themselves, but the shattering of the story we told ourselves that we're better than this, that we had evolved beyond the brutality of our past, that we had healed, that we were finally just. And I would add that we had moved beyond tower and army building." But Trimble writes, quote, "What if the grief we feel is not evidence of failure, but an invitation to become honest? What if our psychic anguish is the natural response to a myth collapsing? The truth is, we're not innocent. We are not separate from the systems we oppose. We are not untouched by the patterns we condemn. We are not either or. We are both and. We are love and cruelty, hope and fear, awake and still sleepwalking. To be human is to be entangled in contradiction. To prevent otherwise, or to pretend otherwise, to purify ourselves too quickly, is to stay trapped in the very illusions that got us here. But when we allow ourselves to acknowledge the mess without collapsing into guilt or retreating into righteousness, something sacred happens. We become metabolizers of truth. We become capable of the kind of peace that doesn't require denial I've learned in my meditation work, Trimble writes, that peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is the capacity to stay with the conflict, to let it rise, to face it, to compost it into something more whole. Peace isn't always pretty, but it is honest, and it is fierce. It is rooted in love that refuses to look away. So no, I am not saying we should stop resisting harm. We must keep showing up, keep fighting injustice, keep protecting the vulnerable, but we must also let go of the idea that we are separate from the violence we resist. That story only keeps us fragile, defensive, and afraid of complexity. Instead, we can learn to grieve not just what is happening now, but what has always been happening. To grieve the gap between our ideals and our history, to grieve the myths we believed about who we were, and in that grief, we can grow something else. We can act, not from urgency alone, but from devotion. Not from purity, but from presence. Not because we are certain, but because we're willing. So today, let's all just take a breath. Let's allow ourselves to be honest. Let's stop trying to be the good ones and start becoming the real ones. The ones who can hold contradiction, stay with discomfort, and let love, fierce and imperfect, animate our justice. That's what Cameron Trimble had to say. Jesus lived within these contradictions. As well, and thus the reason for hyperbole. He knew his context. Jesus made his intentions known. In the kingdom of God, all were welcome. And that God's love embraces all, even if it is messy. Bless you. Our Christian faith compels us to address the world through the lens of our relationship with God and one another. God calls us to live in communities shaped by peace, collaboration, and cooperation. God created us for each other, and thus our security depends on the well-being of neighbors both next door and globally, and not being reliant on assault weapons. God calls us to be advocates for those who are most vulnerable in our society. Each human being is created in the image of God. The earth belongs to God. And both humans and earth are intrinsically good and even a little flawed. Like the potter, God continues to shape us and mold us as we try to find ways to live out our faith with integrity and dignity. We cannot hold all of this alone, friends, but we can hold it together if we are brave enough to stay in the mess and humble enough to listen. May this moment not harden us, but humble us. May it break us open, not apart. And whatever happened to the pot I made in 3rd or 4th grade, I have no idea. But the last time I remember